Is the audio and volume, like, is my input on my mic working? I'm sorry if people can, like, hear me typing. If I'm typing, that's stupid. But I just want to make sure the microphone works so that if people want to ask things in stream, I can just respond to them while I work. Because my dream would be to just, have company while I'm working and, like, hang out with people who like my stuff. And I'm hoping that when I do actually stream and people who follow my work come join, that they won't be, like, bored out of their minds. I don't know how to input music onto a stream, but I also kind of think, like, if I'm only talking in my stream, it lets people put on whatever background music they might want. So I don't know if that would be preferable to potential viewers. Man, the thing that's gonna be stupid is, like, if my family comes in to, like, ask me something, I don't really know how to mute. So if I'm streaming and I need to, like, bounce for a second, or somebody's asking something of me, everyone in the world is probably gonna know. I'm using Streamlabs. It's an app on the iPad, and what you do with it, I was using this tutorial video that I can link you in Discord, or you can find it on my Twitter when I respond to someone else. But yeah, the app streams directly. So you open the app, you log into YouTube, and there's an option to screen share, and you select the destination that you wanted. So first, when I was testing this, I had made an unlisted video so that I could, like, privately send links to people to test the thing out. And then what ended up happening, because there's multiple options that you can send it to. So right now, this live is considered, like, my channel's usual broadcast. But instead of selecting that, I kept accidentally picking the unlisted testing live stream that I had made. So that's why, like, when I was troubleshooting with the last one and then I tried to start the live stream again, the screen capture went to the wrong place. So yeah, I'm just, like, getting used to using this new app because this is literally my first time using it, and I really want to make sure that when I'm actually, like, streaming and trying to be serious, that I don't have 1,000 problems to account for. Oh, cool, so you do use Streamlabs. Yeah, I saw when I, like, I was looking at the widgets, because when you first open it, there's all these widgets that the tutorial video I was looking at didn't mention at all. I was really confused, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll add, like, this tip jar or whatever the hell on it. But I think that only applies if you're actually, like, camera capturing streaming, like, in the actual app, because all those things look like they're gone when I'm, screen sharing right now in Procreate, which honestly is preferable because I don't want, like, a bunch of things to overlap. I don't want, like, a chat that goes over my video like it does in the preview on their website. Just having the chat on YouTube is enough. So for me, like, I actually have my own live stream open on my computer right now, and I'm looking at it, but I had to mute it because hearing the doubling echo is disgusting. I think I'm going to share this link to my Twitter and be like, hey, does anyone want to join? Come watch me. Because why not? I can just continue streaming today. I don't really have anything else to do. Yeah, I wonder if I just pull down, like, the little recording thing, if I just... Yeah, I guess so the way you mute it, because turning this mic button on and off didn't really, like, stop the stream, but it should be, stopping the mic. So let's try it. Testing, 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 testing. I think that's how you mute. Oh, perfect. It does mute it. Ideal. We are on this adventure of discovery together. I also find it cool when streaming, like, you can see how the artist organically actually puts down the brush strokes and, like, rotates the canvas, because when Procreate does a recording, which is great, I love that feature, it only just kind of, like, speeds it up and just shows you everything thrown on there, but not really how, like, somebody turns the canvas and, like, works organically. But yeah, I mean, if anyone here has, like, stuff to do, like, please don't feel compelled to have to, like, sit and watch my stream and make sure things don't go wrong, especially if you have plans on the weekend. But if you would love to just hang out, you are also very welcome to stay. I am just working on an art trade that I have with someone on Instagram, where they drew one of my characters, so I am now drawing their deer character. And I'm also using some new brushes. Lightbox is really fun, and Max Yu, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I don't know if it's Yulinki or Yulichny, but he makes awesome brushes, and I bought, like, all of them. I told myself it was an investment, and since he had his Lightbox discount code, I was like, you know what, I'm not going to pass it up. And this is the Max Yu Fountain Pen Clean from his Comics Max Pack, and it's really delicious. I started using it when I was doing, like, flat colors and, like, doing fur, because it has this, like, really lovely taper that makes, like, fur edges really nicely if you're flat coloring, but it's also just really nice for line art, as you can see as I'm doing this. So I might switch to using this one for my hard inking brush, as opposed to using the syrup brush that comes with Procreate, because it's a little bit too binary for my taste. It's very, like, pixelated on the end, where this one's, like, a lot more smooth, and the taper is more of a shape that I really like. Oh, are you in animation school right now to be doing a lot of traditional animation? Because I remember at my art school, our program was, like, almost entirely traditional, which wasn't ideal because a lot of the industry doesn't really do a lot of traditional animation lately. It's always great to learn, though, like, those fundamentals. I feel the same way about, like, traditional fine art and stuff. Like, anything you learn about fine art can generally be applied to digital, especially when it comes to, like, oil painting. But yeah, our, like, curriculum at the school I went to was very much, like, behind the times, and they would never let, like, students take things to coloring until there was, like, a really big, everyone was really upset about it and had to, like, have a bunch of meetings within their major. And now they have, like, an experimental program where they're, like, letting the students take film to color and use digital media a lot more. But yeah, the nice thing about Max Yu brushes is that he has a lot of digital brushes that act traditionally, so you can get that look. And shortly after I bought them, I found this guy on Instagram who makes, like, amazing charcoal drawings, because he did art of one of the figure drawing models from my school that I graduated from, that I used to go to. And I was like, wow, these are really cool charcoal drawings. And I saw that he uses like a charcoal brush pack on Procreate, and I was like, whoa, are you kidding me? He's like so realistic. But I restrained myself and I didn't get them because I was like, I don't really do like a charcoal style very often, so I can't like green light and validate the $25 expenditure for some more brushes when I just spent money on brushes that I hadn't used yet. But I'm very excited to start testing them out and doing some more experimental drawings or paintings to figure out what they have to offer. Oh, nice, cool. So it's not like your entire major, but it's like a specific class that you're doing. That's good. I like that. I think it's like good to learn the fundamentals and like traditional stuff to inform the work. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I'm really impressed with Streamlabs. It's like streaming really clearly on my end. Like it's not grainy and gross. Like I've seen it happen other time to like when I would stream on Picardo years ago or try other stuff like that. I'm glad that it's like working out. I know it was like an initial hurdle for me to be like, how does any of this work? What are any of these like YouTube like menus? How come when I click on my channel it takes me to YouTube Studio? I just want to see where my videos are. Like I felt like an old woman, like a grandma trying to figure out what YouTube is, and I was like, ugh. But like now that I got the hang of it, I think it's like pretty easy. Like once you know like the basic 5 steps it takes to go live on Streamlabs. I'm hoping that when I start streaming regularly that like people are gonna come and hang out because it seems like it'd be super fun. Yeah, the only reason, okay, so here's the thing, like, if you are an artist and you are drawing someone naked, or, like, something that can be perceived as adult content, you stream on Picardo, because they allow for, like, mature audiences, adult media, like, drawings and stuff. I think they don't allow, like, real stuff, of course, because that's, like, you know, different. But with, like, Twitch and YouTube, there's, like, rules, so, like, if you're drawing, like, a naked lady, they might get mad at you and like take down all your videos. So I think it's like nice to have Picardo just in case, but like Streamlabs doesn't seem to be like compatible with it because there was no option to log into Picardo and stream from it. I like YouTube because when I was looking into how to stream to it, the tutorial that I watched, the guy specified that you can choose whether your stream is public, private, or unlisted. And I really like that because as an artist, it means that I can do private or limited audience videos where only people with the link can come watch. So, like, if you want to do Patreon and you want to do, like, a Patreon exclusive live stream, or if you're like me and you're a nerd and you like talking about, like, the things you know and you want to do, like, mentorships for anyone who wants to, like, just ask me questions and be like, hey, Foxy, sit down for an hour and tell me how to draw hands. Like, that means that I can do a private live stream and do, like, live tutorials or live critiques where somebody can, like, give me their work and be like, hey, can you redline and critique this for me? And I can literally, like, draw over it in real time and be like, okay, well, like, here's how I would do this. So I just thought that this is, like, very useful, and I guess I was also really inspired by Lightbox, where I was like, all these streams I've been to have been so fun. Like, I want to do that. I want to be these artists. I also really like the layout of, like, the streamer on YouTube. Like, I don't know, the chat feels very clean, where whenever I would, like, see it on, Twitch, all the different colors, like, people being able to, like, click their own, like, name colors and whatever, like, that's cool and all, but it ends up being, like, really visually busy. Yeah, I don't know. I was watching a lot of, like, Twitch streams and YouTube streams during Lightbox Expo Online last weekend, and I really enjoyed the YouTube ones. I know, like, Brand Metheny was streaming on actually, I said her name wrong. Bryn Matheny, which I have been saying her name wrong this whole time, which I feel really bad about now, but I literally never heard her say her own name before, so I'm glad she did. Yeah, I was just super inspired. I had so much fun in her streams. I went to some of her Instagram ones, but the issue with Instagram is, like, you can kind of only really stream with your phone camera, and I would rather, like, screen record and, like, not have people see my hands and, like, me sitting there scribbling. But yeah, it just felt very personable and very cool being able to talk to artists that I look up to and admire and stuff. And it was just a very magical experience. And I was like, wow, I want to be that for someone. Like, maybe I'm someone's, like, Bryn Matheny. Like, and I'm sure, like, people, you know, if they really like someone's art or, like, enjoy the things they do, like, it'd be really fun to just, like, hang out and ask them questions. Because it can be very hard for me sometimes to make, like, time out of my day if someone's like, hey, can you help me with this drawing? Can you give me some critique? And, like, it takes me, like, 40 minutes to type out something that I could have said out loud in, like, 3. So I think it's cool and fun, like, if someone's like, hey, Foxy, how do you set up a PayPal invoice? And I'll be like, let me tell you real quick. Or they'll be like, oh, do you have any advice on, like, how to do this? And I'll be like, yes, let me ramble for 20 minutes, because I'm very good at rambling. I'm glad I managed to turn off my iPad notifications for my Telegram, but now I'm also like, oh no, what if I, like, ignore my friends? Okay, no one's messaged me. That's good. I think it'd be so funny if you guys can, like, hear my Apple Pen, like, scratching on the screen, because I have, one of those paper tooth screen protectors. I don't have the official, like, paper like the brand one. I got, like, one off Amazon that was like, this is good enough. But yeah, I really like it. It, like, kind of mattifies your screen a little bit, so, it's not as glaring. It also gives you a little bit of tooth, so it feels a lot more like you're actually drawing on paper instead of a very slippery screen. Yeah, thank you for coming, Ty. Thank you for coming in and helping me figure out if the stream is working. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it screams if people can, like, hear the background noise with my family. Yeah, thank you for coming. Thank you for helping me troubleshoot. I really appreciate anyone coming in to be like, hey, let me help you figure out your stuff. But yeah, I mean, for anyone else kind of, like, hanging out and watching, I think if I'm not, like, actively talking about something, I might just, like, mute my mic so people don't hear, like, dumb stuff, and I'll just kind of, like, listen to music. And then if someone's, like, saying hello or asking a question, then I can, like, turn the mic on and be like, hello, time to chat and hang out. As opposed to, like, rambling in the void like a strange person. We need that dumb stuff. I love it. Yeah, this takes me back like years ago when I used to like actually try to stream regularly, back when I would use join.me and I was like 16 years old on DeviantArt, like living my best life, drawing OCs and like making friends with other children on the internet, and we would like all draw, like aggressively do gift art for each other. And you'd be like drawing and you're like, oh shit, I gotta go eat, and you're like BRB eating, like smiley face, and you just like leave it up for a while, and then like anyone who joins your stream like knows that, you know, you're gonna be back in a second, because, you know, if you like actually turn off the stream because you gotta go do something that's gonna take like, I don't know, like 5 or 10 minutes, everyone's gonna be like, oh, the stream's done, and they'll like leave. Oh, thank you. These eyebrows aren't actually like my style of eyebrows. The character I'm drawing has these kind of like curvy eyebrows, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna assume it's a character trait, and I'm gonna just like draw them, because usually I'll do like kind of like natural eyebrows and be like, oh yeah, like yeah, eyebrow. But yeah, because I know like if you do this kind of eyebrow, Vani will hunt you down and eat you, so I don't want that. So disclaimer, I'm not stealing the curly eyebrows. Like low-key looking at this, I'm like, I drew this strap here, but like I don't understand what I meant. I'm like, oh, is this like the collar strap, and then like this attaches here? Like what? I sketched this out like a couple weeks ago because I have been only like working on it on my weekends. And yes, this is like, the sketch is a little old, and I'm like, I forgot what I meant here, because sometimes you do a little bit of like shorthand with sketches, or like in the moment you draw like a volume and you're like, I know exactly what I meant here, and then you like don't look at it for 3 weeks and you're like, what? But yeah, thank you. I appreciate that you like the eyebrows I do. I was like also playing around with like this brush, because I'm using a new brush from a Max Pack that I bought, one of the like all the Max Packs that I bought last weekend. And it kind of lets you go very fine and very chunky, like really easily, which is really cool for eyebrows and doing like eyebrow hairs and stuff. And low-key, I'm here like, if I draw eyebrows really good, will I be able to draw them on my actual face when I do my makeup better? Because they can definitely be a little tricky to make them look good. Should really pull up this character's reference. I'm like doing the lines based on just like the sketch, but I don't actually have the thing open. Yeah, I also don't even like use my YouTube literally ever, so I don't blame you for forgetting that this channel exists, because nothing ever really happens on it. So I can't be mad at anyone who doesn't like go to my YouTube if nothing ever happens on it. But yeah, now I'm realizing that like when I want to go like hunt down the reference, the character reference, because I tend to like open it up in my iPad later, I'll have to like open up my photos. You guys are gonna see all my shit in there. Like, I don't really have anything like awful in there, but like all the drawings I've uploaded recently or whatever, and like works in progress and things like that are in there. And if it's like spicy art, I don't want anyone seeing that when they're not supposed to or don't want to. Oh, I could just open the character link and then like send the Dropbox link to myself and open it in like the website. Would it work if I just like copy it? God, please don't be like a weird webpage that I have open. Nope, that's my email. That's my fur affinity. Okay. Can I paste from my iPhone? No? Can we close the bookmarks? I really hate how it's like... Oh. Open all the... Okay, let's just go to DeviantArt and just have this open while I figure out... No, actually, let's just have Procreate open while I figure things out. Okay, I'm here, like, if I direct message this to my other Instagram, and then I open the link in the website Instagram on my computer, and I send myself the link on the iPad, and I open it, then it might work without accidentally revealing anything I shouldn't. Because, you know, if I slide this open, my, this should have an option to, like, open whatever. It worked! Oh, I'm so excited. I'm very stoked. Actually, that was perfect. No! This. Yes. Yeah, sucks that my stream is looking like a potato for you. I'm sorry about that. I am like viewing my own just so I can keep an eye on the chat and make sure I don't miss anything. And it's looking really like crystal clear on my end, which I'm very excited about because I feel like in the past when I've streamed stuff, it looks like shit. So I'm like, yay. Yes, I'm working on the iPad. I'm using a streaming app called Streamlabs, and it allows me to screen capture, if I slide this down here, if you use, here's a screen capture that you can just put right on your iPad, how you would normally screen capture your screen for whatever use you might want. There's an option to add Streamlabs or any other app that is streaming compatible to it, so you can stream directly to wherever you want. Yeah, I had no idea if you could even like stream from the iPad because I'm like a noob and I like technology isn't really my forte. And honestly, like me having to learn anything that's like completely new and foreign to me isn't my forte. Because I love to like, I like to only do things that I'm already good at. But yeah, I like looked into it. At first I asked Twitter and I was like, why am I asking Twitter when I can literally just Google it? And I'm like, I should just Google it. And I found this one guy who had a very in-depth tutorial on how to use the iPad to stream using Streamlabs, and it was super helpful. So then I decided to just like, hey, let's test run it today and like see what happens. And if it's like awful, then we'll know for next time. And here we are. I'm glad to hear that the audio is very clear because it's literally just my iPad microphone. Which goes to show that Apple's got their shit together. I just hope that it's not sensitive enough to, like, pick out background noise. And just, like, my family, like, living their lives. I think my favorite thing about Procreate and, like, why I'm having a hard time just using a different app, because I was trying Art Studio Pro for a while, which is, in short, it's another iPad app. It's $11 in the iPad store. It's a drawing app, and, like, in a lot of ways it is kind of superior to Procreate because it doesn't have any canvas limitations. It has a liquify tool. It has gradient maps. Like, it has a lot of things that Clip Studio and Photoshop have that Procreate doesn't. But also it doesn't have the thing where you're like, if I do a really bad circle and I just hold it, it gives me a perfect circle. And I love this so much. It's how I, like, do a lot of curves and things that I want to get perfect. Yeah, it's also good to hear too that, like, even though the stream is but potato free Eridon, at least it's like crispy audio quality. The kind of, like, lame thing about streams is it kind of, like, ruins the magic of, like, oh yeah, I don't just, like, draw everything perfectly, I redo the same line 5,000 times. Everyone's like that though, like, especially if you're using kind of like a hard liner, which is, like, very exact. There's this pencil brush I love using for sketching and for liner, and it's a lot easier to just be like, oh yeah, like, here's the line, and it looks, like, really nice. But with, like, hard liners, you kind of have to get them, like, either perfectly or you, like, don't. Because if you kind of, like, try to fix it by erasing, like, you can lose the flow of your line that you originally intended. Like, I don't know, I'm, like, zooming that out, and I'm like, oh, I don't really like this. Yeah, the smoothing curve is great, because I can draw a lot of things, but I can't draw circles. I'm also glad that I can rotate everything on the iPad and Procreate, because for a long time, when I was doing a lot of, like, digital art on my Wacom tablet, on my laptop, and for many years, the program I was using was, like, a really, really old copy of Photoshop CS3. And that was, like, you know, CC is, like, I don't know, 5 versions ahead. So there's, like, really old crunchy Photoshop that I would, like, use all the time. And you couldn't rotate your canvas or really do anything. And there's certain strokes that are just, like, really hard to do unless you have, like, the most comfortable angle on it. But I just kind of made it work. And I never had, like, stabilizers or anything because the thing was so old. So whenever I, like, saw people using Paint Tool Sai or whatever and they had, like, stabilizers, I'd be like, that's cheating! And now here I'm like, stabilizer! Stabilizer! Oh, yeah, the funny thing is when you do, like, a really weird, like, polygonal shape and you hold it, it, like, yeah. Oh, that's interesting. The one thing that's annoying though is like sometimes you want like a certain curve, but it like yeah, they got it perfectly then, but like, if I go like this and it straightens it out, it like kind of changes the edges a little bit more than you wanted because it just estimates it. I'm glad to hear though that artists redrawing the same line 20 times is like still magical because I feel like if people watched me draw and like redraw the same line 15 times at like zoomed in at 300%, they would scream. I used to do this thing where I work zoomed in very close and then I zoom out and I was like, oh, why is my line art so small? And it's like, zoom out, dummy. I should like really sketch out this 3D box shape, but I'm really stubborn and trying to make it work, like free-handed. No, I hate that. I have to go into the sketch and like change that. The lag time between the stream and the viewer when I was testing it is about 22 seconds, like 22 or 23. I noticed like how slow it seemed, and I was like, ew. So I timed it with my phone. I did like a test word and timed to see the duration between speaking it and it appearing on the stream. And it was about like 22 seconds, which is a long lag time. Yeah, unfortunately. I'm like 99% certain you guys can like hear my family in the background, and I'm like horrified. My dad likes to talk on the phone like really loud. Ooh, I gotta like find out a way to turn off Discord notifications too, but those ones are less personal, so it's like whatever, but it'll still be like really annoying. Can I just like turn off my Discord to be like, do not disturb, please leave me alone? It is on do not disturb. Why is it? I don't want any notifications. Go away. I hate how like technology is so doesn't always do what you want. I'll be like, yeah, I'll stream. I turn off like the notifications, and like no one should see any notifications. And Discord's like, hello, witness me. The thing is that like I haven't gone to settings to turn off like my push notifications with Discord because I didn't think to, because those weren't what was like popping up when I first was like, ew, no, I don't want the notifications on my screen. So I just forgot about them. But I also like don't really want to go into my like general settings right now and like figure it out, and everyone like sees all my shit. But who knows? Maybe I just might. I might just do it and be like, oh well, if you guys like hunt me down and like wear my skin, I'll just have to like accept it. That's a joke. Please don't do that. Yeah, I'm like not even sure that like these rivets would look like this in this angle, but like I'm not gonna bother with like getting a specific reference for it because it's not like something that needs to be like perfectly photorealistic or something. But usually when there's something that I'm like, how do I draw this? Like I always go find a reference to make it easier. One thing I don't do enough of though is shooting my own reference. Like if I'm actually drawing like a fantasy portrait or a face and I want to get it like really realistic, or I want to get like a pose but I can't find the exact pose on Google, shooting your own references is extremely valuable, and since it's like the photo is still all your own work, you could literally like photo manipulate it or just trace it in, and like that's completely fine. Like there's nothing wrong with tracing as long as you're not like stealing from anyone, and as long as you're not like lying and being like, I drew this by myself. But yeah, I remember being in like art school and having the magic really ruined to me because there was like art books of really amazing games where I was like, this game has the most amazing art ever. All of the artists who work on this are God. How can they like paint such an amazing like scene or landscape or like make all this amazing art so fast? Oh, it's all photo bashed. And I was like, wait, you mean they just collage together a bunch of photos and they like scribble on it a little bit? And it's like, yep. But in the, you know, formal art industry pipeline, like it's not about like, oh, is it about like how you can you do it from your imagination? Like no one cares. They want you to get the job done. And like, you know, everyone uses 3D software, especially for like it always kind of makes me sad when people are like, oh, I never do backgrounds because they're so hard, perspective is so hard. And I'm like, no, just like find Google SketchUp and like literally load a building or like load the thing that you're trying to draw and like put the camera where you want it, take a screenshot, and then like use that. Like it's not cheating to just use your resources. Everyone in like the formal art industry uses those tools. Like if you were hired by a studio to do concept art for environment and you're paid by the hour and you're like, here's a sketch of the perspective, it took me like 60 hours, so that will be like $1 million, they're gonna fire you. They're like, I want you to give me the finished painting in 6 hours, not like a sketch in 60. So that lesson is called Kill Your Dogmas, because I see this like elitism, especially in like the online art community, where everyone's like, if you use a reference, that's cheating. And I'm like, I'm not born knowing what tigers look like, Karen. Like, how can you know how to draw something if you're not like looking at it? So yes, references are not cheating. Using photos and photo bashing is not cheating. However, if you are using copywritten photos that don't belong to you, you're an asshole. So don't do that. But yeah, don't trace anyone's art. Like, basically, don't use or trace anything that does not belong to you. Like, that's the rule. That's the only thing you need to follow. But Um, yeah. That being said, I don't really photo bash a lot in like my furry art. I haven't had like a need to. But before, when I did go trail walking a lot more often during quarantine when I was losing my mind, I needed to like go walk around. Um, there's like a lot of like there's it's not really like a wildlife reserve, but there's a bunch of trails behind my house in like a woodsy area full of like a shit ton of coyotes. And I would go walk around like I don't know, 6 or 7 when it would be cooler and not like a million degrees. And when the sun would start setting, it would make like really pretty lighting, and some of the trails would be really well lit and look like a nice kind of like backdrop for a character. So I would take pictures with my phone with like the intent that like, oh, maybe I can literally just like use the photo as my base in like a drawing and just like paint over it and stuff. But I never got around to it because I don't really ever have much time or bandwidth to draw anything for myself, because I'm trying very desperately to save up enough money to stop being like a penniless post-college student and like afford to like go live on my own. So yeah, I'm like, if I'm not doing commissions, I'm like dying. So I never really find the time to draw for myself very often. I do have like a couple of things, like sometimes I'll try to keep it to like the weekends. I'll do like commissions during the week, and I'll do like art trades or personal art sometimes during the weekend, because I'm like, oh yeah, it's my break. My break from drawing is more drawing. But I haven't finished too many things recently. I think the last thing I finished that was like for me, just for fun, was some spicy art for my spicy art Twitter. Which if anyone wants to follow it, you can find it on my Fur Affinity on the spicy art submissions, but I do not advertise it in case children are watching. Yeah, and like the other thing too with the whole like, oh, references is cheating mindset. The funniest thing is like all of these spicy hot takes come from people who don't work in the art industry and who aren't like, sure, they're artists, like they're online artists and stuff, but like they don't work in like the big bitch art industry. And it's like, I think the people who like are paid like $60 an hour and make the movies and the comic books and things know a little bit better about like what's proper like art etiquette than some 17-year-old on Twitter who thinks that looking up references is cheating and screams at you that it's their style, so you're not allowed to critique their work when the snout is like, you know, in profile view on like a front face. I love that meme of like where someone photoshopped a wolf and it's like front facing, but its snout is like turned sideways, and they're like, it's my style. Because it's so true, it hurts. Yeah, it absolutely is an elitism thing, because people want to feel like they're special and they want to feel like they're better than other people because they don't need to use certain tools. It's kind of like when people first started using digital art, and the people who are like diehard traditionalists were like, the computer does it for you. I do traditional work because I'm not a cheater. And it's like, digital art is just as hard and it has its own challenges. And I know people who have worked traditionally their whole life and tried digital art and they're like, no, this is too hard. So people just need to like let go of their weird dogmas and like relax. But yeah, like I think being able to draw from your imagination and not needing to reference things as much is a good skill to have, but that only comes from working from reference for a very long time. Like oftentimes I can draw poses and get a decent grasp on my anatomy from my imagination. But what I end up doing is I will double check with references, like I might not have the exact reference of the pose I'm actually working on, but let's say I'm unsure how the deltoid looks in a particular angle. I will try to look up the deltoid and try to look up like whatever random pose I can find on Google that is like close enough to what I'm doing, just to reference that deltoid and nothing else. So like the skill of being able to find random references and kind of like Frankenstein them together however you need them is a very valuable skill. And just working from reference is not a skill that everyone has, because it takes, there's a lot of different skills that tie into drawing, and one of them is like your spatial skills and understanding of things. So your ability to be able to see a 2D image or like a photograph, but understand all of the components and the volumes of the subject as though they are three-dimensional forms, and then be able to turn that form in your head and draw it in like a different angle from your imagination. Like that's a very valuable skill, and not everyone has it. Like that's fine. And there's also that thing of like not everyone has the same mind's eye. And this was like a very interesting kind of thing that was like trending on Twitter a while ago, where they're like, picture an apple, what do you see? And like there's like a different spectrum of like how much detail people can see when they close their eyes and imagine something. And like some people are literally incapable. Like they close their eyes and they try to imagine an apple and they just see darkness. And I forgot what the word was when you like are like that. But then there's other people who can like imagine things extremely vividly, and I'm one of those people. So that makes drawing for imagination a lot easier. And after enough, like if you do a lot of studies and you're very attentive, because people do a lot of looking, but we don't do a lot of seeing. So I think the most valuable thing I learned when I went to art school, even though it really much wasn't worth the money, so please don't go to a private art school. If you ever want to like ask questions about that and like get advice if you are thinking of finding like a formal education, please let me know. But yeah, like the most valuable thing I learned was how to see and how to understand and digest the information you're seeing in a way that like helps you draw it. And once you understand how to see and how to, I don't know, mentally break down what you're seeing into like tangible information for you to use, like that's a very important skill to have. But like someone literally needs to like teach you how to see things, because before you know how to see, you just look at a thing, but like you're not really looking hard enough, or you're looking a lot, but you're not seeing anything. It's so hard and like weird to like describe. Oh, hello. I see there's like new people jumping in the chat. I just took a peek at the chat. Excuse me if I am silly and say the wrong words. Yeah, aphantasia. Thank you for remembering that word, because I did not. Nice. A leg study sounds really cool. Legs are... The funny thing about anatomy, for literally every single creature, and especially like all the mammalian creatures, is that every single living thing that has like a spine and muscles and isn't like a weird worm or something, or like a slug or like a bug, all the muscles are essentially the same, and they perform more or less the same functions, but they're just slightly modified to each organism. And if you look at the leg muscles and the arm muscles, they're largely the same. However, arm muscles and arms as like a limb are a lot more complex, especially in humans, because they have to account for complete rotations, while your leg, the muscles attach to specific planes. So if you were doing a block in of your figure and you start with your wireframe and kind of drawing in the bones, like if you establish the humerus and then kind of like the tibia and like the fibia of your leg with boxes, those muscle attachments will go on particular planes of that box. While with arms it's a little bit different, and there are like, I guess, certain planes where like the origins and the attachments of the muscles go. They're not as like consistent or not as like easy to pin down as they are in legs, because legs don't have the range of motion that arms do. But yeah, I love anatomy. I'm a huge nerd for it. I'm like a really big Bryn Matheny and like Terrell Whitlatch fangirl, and I was like losing my mind when I got to like watch them stream and interact and stuff at Lightbox Expo online last weekend. It was very, very cool. Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't mind you sending links. I don't know how to turn it on or off. I remember when I was in like YouTube streams and I tried to put a link to something, it was like no, and it just like automatically removes the message. I don't know how to change that. So you guys might have to like swap your Twitters or something and like, you know, send any links you want through something that's not the YouTube chat, because I am technologically impaired and can't like adjust my own settings. I'm like scared to touch anything in case it like ends the stream. So I'm like, okay, I'll just work with what I have. Smooth line art looks really cool, but it takes so much longer than using the pencil brush that I usually use. So I don't know if I'm going to keep using a hard liner, at least not super often, because like I do like the way my pencil lines come out, but if people do have a preference, like I can totally accommodate for it. Yeah, if you want help on anatomy, my go-to for whenever I want to... Shit, I'm sorry. I was like looking at Telegram, responding to like some friends, and I totally lost my train of thought. But yeah, no, what I was saying is like whenever I need to brush up on my anatomy, Michael Hampton is my go-to for anatomy stuff. He has this book called Figure Drawing, Design, and Invention. And it's very good. It does a really good job of breaking down the human form into simple boxes and things. And it breaks down all the muscles and attachments in ways that are easily digestible shapes. But yeah, Michael Hampton knows his shit really well. His book was a required text for me as my Figure Drawing 1 course that I took as a freshman in art school. And then when I was a sophomore, I had to take an artistic anatomy course. And when the professor introduced himself, I was like, cool, yeah, my new teacher. And he was like, oh, you know, icebreaker. I know people like to show art that they make to their class, but like I don't think that there's any point of me showing you art that you're never gonna see. So I'm gonna show you some of my other like anatomy demos from the past. And this guy's like presenting and like showing off his work. And I was like, why does this guy's work feel so familiar to me? Like, where do I know your work from? And I thought about it and I was like, oh my god, I have your book. So like my sophomore year professor was, you know, the exact guy who made the book, who was my freshman figure class required text. So I got to basically realize that Michael Hampton is my professor in real life. And the only reason it didn't click to me in the first place is he introduced himself as Steven, because his name is like Steve Michael Hampton or something like that. So it didn't like immediately register. But yeah, that guy knows his stuff really well. He was an amazing teacher, and I grew a lot in his class. He has like this approach to, he basically encourages you to push gesture a lot and go really crazy with it. And then using the gesture, you build structure on top of it. And then you start drawing muscles, and you know, there's a way of capturing the gesture of muscles to like make sure that your drawing has both solidity but also movement and doesn't come out stiff. So yeah, that guy knows his shit really well. and I recommend that book to everyone. And anytime I'm stuck or rusty, I always pull it out. It's on like the bookshelf above my desk. I always grab it and keep it handy. Oh, thank you so much. I'm always like extremely flattered whenever people are like, "Oh, I love your art," because every single artist hates their own work. Like, I made this tweet recently that was like the bane of my existence, where it was like I'm constantly oscillating between a state of liking my style and like hating my style, and I'm like violently oscillating between the two until I'm like asphyxiated from the G-force and like my neck snaps from the whiplash. Because literally every 3 days I get like really depressed, and I'm like, my art is so bad, I'm destined to fail, like, why can't I draw, like, these 400 other people whose styles that I like? Like, when you're an artist, you're the last one to know that you're any good, because you're such a horrible critic of your own stuff that you think everything you make is, like, bad. But yeah, like, small doses of that are good for you, because it keeps you ambitious and it keeps you humble, and it also make sure you keep growing, because if you're like super content with where you are, you're never going to challenge yourself. But if you hate your work too much, you're going to cripple yourself and you're going to be too sad to draw, so don't do that. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm like really glad to recommend whatever like knowledge and tips and tricks and things I have from like whatever I've like learned over the years. And especially if it like supports other artists. Like, I remember I made a tweet recently because a couple people were very interested in like, because I was like, oh, I'm such a nerd, I love like talking about the things that interest me, and like one of those things is like art freelance business. And this was something that like I had a class on, and like I've been like doing commissions like for years, and like, you know, I've learned a lot of things out of my own mistakes, but also out of like cool information I found. And I shared in a tweet the textbook that I used that was required for my professional studies course, and it's by the Hoodspa sisters, which I think they're two twin sisters, and they're both like graphic designers. And that one's also above my desk. It's called Freelance and Business and Stuff, a Guide for Creatives by Hood and Hood, so the Hoodspa sisters. And it's very short, like, it's a very easy read. I really hate, like, there's this one really broadly used guide for, like, the illustration industry that is literally, like, 600 pages. It looks like a phone book, and there's no way I'm going to open that. But the Hoodspa book is very easily digestible and very, very good at helping you set up your own business. And it covers things from, like, freelancing, doing commissions, to also, like, you know, having your own Etsy store and selling stuff online and, like, going to conventions. So if I never get around to ever making, like, something useful anytime soon, definitely check that book out, because anything I would ever talk about with regard to business would literally be like, here are the things I learned from this book. Yeah, the trap with, like, looking at other people's work and, like, comparing yourself to it is that you're constantly moving the goalposts for yourself. And the other thing, too, is, like, oftentimes those artists are working in a style that's different from yours and might not necessarily be compatible with, like, the things you like doing. So the likelihood of just getting sad that you don't draw like someone else is a lot higher than it actually kind of, like, helping you, especially if you're someone who can be a little bit, like, self-negative. Yeah. Where, like, you know, if you're actually, like, wanting to compare your art to anyone to see where you stand in your skills, you should only be really... I stopped because I'm going to be like, wow, I'm such a hypocrite. I'm just being like, don't do this, and I'm like, here are all the things I do. But anyway, the only person they should be comparing yourself to is yourself. So if you're ever feeling, like, stuck, or you're like, where does my art stand? Like, how good is my art? Open up your art from a year ago and take a look at it and be like, what's different? How have I improved? And, you know, that's the only person you should be comparing yourself, because, like, you know, creativity and art and stuff, it's not a competition, it's not a race, and everyone has their own path. And someone's path, even though it looks really cool, it might not be the right one for you. So you should never hold yourself to standards that are not the ones that apply to you and your path and, like, where you're going. Because, you know, like, especially giving it as an example of like my formal career path, because outside of furry art, like I went to school for 4 years and I'm trying to go into the entertainment industry, and I'm very interested in doing creature design and viz dev and illustration for entertainment. And I've also been, working hard at not perfectly style matching, but creating a portfolio that falls in line with, Magic the Gathering card art the way Carade does. One of my favorite artists and biggest inspirations is Carade art. So I'm like, I want to be that. Yeah, so outside of my furry art, my style of art falls in that category, but even though the voice that I'm looking for and the standard that I should be holding myself to is comparing myself to myself, and also my own industry of exactly where it is that I want to work, whether it's DreamWorks or Disney or whatever, I will still find myself I'll see a graphic designer who makes logos and I'll be like, shit, I wish I could do that. That's cool. So for many years, especially when I was a freshman in college and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I would fall in this trap of wanting to do too much, or I was interested in too many things. So instead of concentrating and focusing on one path that would be profitable, I kind of became a jack of all trades, but yeah, it's jack of all trades, master of none, but the remainder of that phrase is still often better than master of one. But still, I would much rather be an artist who's outrageously successful at one thing they do, instead of an artist who's really mediocre at a lot of things. So I keep trying to remind myself of that. So anytime I get really sad that somebody draws in a way that's really cool in a style that's different than mine, I gotta remind myself and be like, hey, you like realistic art and you like drawing kind of realistic furries, and you shouldn't get upset that you're not good at doing stylized cartoony furries. If you want stylized cartoony art of your character, just commission an artist. So that's what I tell myself to calm down. Wow, I'm getting a little hungry. I didn't really eat lunch. I ate a really late breakfast, and I was like, this is fine, I won't be hungry. And I'm sitting here I'm excited to try streaming during the week when I'm actually working and on commissions and stuff. Because when people are watching me draw, I would feel disgusting to leave my screen inactive and blank for an extended amount of time while I just go mess around and do nothing. So streaming keeps me very responsible and keeps me away from just dicking around on Twitter for 40 minutes. Or just wandering off and slacking. So yeah, I'm excited to stream. I'm excited to hang out with people who like my art and want to chat with me. And this appeals to a lot of my interests. I'm very bad at shutting up, so rambling into the void and having people actually enjoy that annoying trait is really nice. Yeah, I have this awful habit, the second I, stop drawing a thing, because sometimes I'll be oh, let me check my email to see if I got an update from my client, and, I'll check the email and be great, I checked the email, time to check Twitter, check for Affinity, and also check DeviantArt, and then I go down this, rabbit hole in each of those, and it's, a 40-minute detour, and that happens, all the time. So, sometimes in a work day, I will only have technically drawn for 2 hours, and I hate that. And I'm I would be so much more productive and profitable if I just drew for 8 hours instead of 2. But yeah, and especially with that thread of mine that I made on Twitter when I was really pissed that about for like furry artists and fursuit makers who just like take people's money and like fuck off forever. Because that was basically happening to a friend of mine, and I was like really mad, so I bitched about it on his behalf. Because he's like, oh, I don't want like the maker to like get mad at me and then like never give me back my money. So yeah, I like never expected it to go as viral as it did. Because nothing I ever post usually gets like that much traction. And I was so distracted by Twitter. I was literally like, I think I was just like finishing up work on something or like putting a reference sheet together for like the last reference sheet commission I did. And I was like lying to myself like, this is social media engagement. This is an investment in my brand, because if I'm very active right now and engaging with the people engaging with my post, then it means that more people will see my Twitter. So I was like lying to myself, trying to like, I'm like, this is why me goofing off is fine. But to be fair, it did boost my account, and I did get like a little chunk of followers, which was really cool. And a couple people inquired about commissions, which was also really cool. Because people were basically like, hey, knowing that you feel so strongly about people who, like, steal money, I feel very comfortable giving you my money. And I'm like, that's good. I'm glad it can make you feel safe. There's, like, literally no way I could run off with, like, someone's money, because I would be, like, so guilty I would die. The nice thing about Procreate, here's what I do. Like, Procreate, in addition to, like, recording all of your strokes and then giving you a sped up video, Procreate also does this thing where it logs all the time that you have your canvas open, so it tells you how many hours you worked on the thing. So to not lie to myself and actually be realistic about what my hours are, so I can gauge it very well. If I'm not actively drawing, I close my canvas and I lock my iPad so it stops timing it. And that's how I know, like, in my 8-hour workday that I only drew for 2 hours. Exposing myself. But, yeah, like, that's the right way to do it, because you never want to think that something actually did take you 8 hours when you did it in 2. Because, yeah, if you're, like, you know, trying to price your commissions or trying to gauge your work queue, you really need to know exactly how long things take you, so you don't either bite off more than you can chew or, like, you know, underestimate your hours. Because there's nothing worse than when you kind of, like, see, if you think something will take you longer than it does and you finish it faster, that's good, and you get, like, more money per hour. But if you underestimate how long something takes you, sometimes you make, like, $5 an hour instead of 15, and it sucks. So definitely one habit that I got into that was very good for me was tracking how long things take. And that really helped me figure out how I can price things. But yeah, for me, like, drawing and talking is very easy. And I'm a little bit, I'm not diagnosed, but I know I'm, like, a little bit ADD. Like, I have friends who are diagnosed, and anytime I would doubt it, my friends are like, no, we know you, and we know, don't worry about it. And I'm like, okay. But yeah, so, like, for me, sometimes for me to be focused on something, I have to be multitasking. Like, it's very easy for me to focus on drawing for, like, 10 hours straight if I'm also doing something else, like listening to a podcast or talking on the phone with someone. It also keeps my ass, like, at my desk, so I don't wander off and, like, do something, or, like, go make coffee, and then, like, realize that, oh, I could, like, make this really cool snack, and then, like, it takes, like, 40 minutes until I get back to my desk. So definitely, it keeps me trapped in my workspace, where my only options are to work. And, like, again, with the stream, if I know people are watching, I'm not gonna go fuck off and leave it paused because I feel like I should be entertaining whoever's watching my stream. So I think it would be very good incentive for my productivity. So I might be trying to stream daily. And if you would love to join, keep an eye out for that. and follow my Telegram channel, especially if you have Telegram. Like, nobody ever follows my Telegram channel, and I was like, guys, like, you get notifications directly. Like, you don't risk Twitter algorithm eating my art and never showing it to you ever again if you follow the Telegram channel, because you'll get, like, a little message whenever I'm like, here's a new drawing. And if that's annoying, you can just mute the channel, and then I won't bother you. But, yeah, I'll be posting stream announcements to Twitter as well as my Telegram channel. But because Twitter loves to do this thing where it shows you a tweet, like, 4 days after it's been posted, definitely consider hopping into that Telegram channel if you really want to, like, actually catch things when they're live and not risk it disappearing. Or if you're just not, like, super active on Twitter anyway, and you'd rather, like, literally get a text message when it's like, Foxy streaming, or, like, Foxy drew a new drawing. Definitely consider checking it out. But yeah, I've been, like, trying to, like, bribe people to subscribe to the channel, because I'm like, come on, guys, like, it'll be fun. You get to see the art instantly. So yeah, I'm at, like, 25 subscribers in there, which is really cool. But, like, I know some art channels who have, like, 200. I'm like, I wish that was me. Yeah, raising your prices is always good. The tricky thing with raising prices, and, like, something that I have, like, learned over time, is that there's, like, so many variables to account for when pricing your work. It's not just about, like, materials and how much time something takes you. Like, people have to account quality of their work, comparative market, what people are selling similar products and styles for, like, what their price is for a similar product. But you also have to take into account your audience size. And that's something that's kind of, like, sucked for me lately, because I feel like the quality of my work is high enough where I could be charging a lot, but because my audience is small, if I were to raise my prices that high, it would be very, like, consequential to me, and it would really limit, like, how many people commission me, because my reach and my sample size of potential clients is so much smaller. So, like, out of 3,000 people, the likelihood of somebody being able to afford higher rates is much smaller than if you have, like, an audience of 10,000 people. So that's something you also have to take into account. Like, when you're pricing, it's like, what's the cost of my materials? How many hours did this take? How much money are people charging for a similar product at a similar quality? And also, how big is my audience? But on the other hand, too, because for me, I'm like, I want to make sure I have high demand, and I don't want to reduce the number of commission inquiries that I'm getting. The trade-off is when you raise your prices, you will be getting less work, but you'll be paid more per hour, so it offsets it. So even though you're not getting, like, let's say you're only getting 3 commissions now instead of, like, 6, if you have doubled your prices, you are making the same amount of money as if you did those 6 pieces, except that you're only doing 3, and you're less likely to burn out and be too exhausted to draw. So, food for thought. Yeah, I feel you with the stream. My issue before, when I used to stream on Picardo and stuff, is, like, literally no one would show up and no one would come talk to me, and I would feel, like, really upset. And back when I was using my laptop and OBS to stream, I noticed a very obvious lag, and I felt like it wasn't worth it to have my art program lagging if literally, like, no one was watching my stream anyway. And I just got sad that, like, nobody cared. And, like, nobody wants to come watch me stream, so I'm never gonna do it ever again. But, you know, since then, my audience has gotten a little bit bigger and a little bit more interactive, and there's, like, people who more regularly, like, always chime in on my work, which feels super amazing, and I really appreciate, like, anyone who, like, actually takes the time to respond to my work, looks at Eridan. So yeah, so, like, now I'm, like, really excited to try it out, especially after Lightbox. I watched, like, a shit ton of really cool panels and live streams of artists. It was really, really fun, like, hanging out and chat, talking to people. And I was like, I want to be the artist doing the stream, because I love being the participant and the artist. But, yeah. Largely because, it'll make me productive, it'll keep me at my desk, and it will let me ramble and talk to myself, which I like doing. And it's slightly less weird and embarrassing if I can at least pretend that somebody is listening. But I don't know what day-to-day streams are going to be like with my parents' home, because, like, my mom's office is, like, right next door to me, and she will be, like, on the phone really loud all the time, and my dad will be, like, in his office, like, across the house on the phone really loud. So I might, like, either have to mute myself or just, like, everyone will have to deal with, like, background noise of my loud family. So yeah, I think they went out earlier, so I don't hear them now. Yeah, it's definitely really good to finish your commissions before you take more, especially if you've taken the money already. What I do and what has worked best for me right now, and you can totally find this linked in my link tree, you can find my Trello, you can find my price list, and you can find, I think there was like a journal, one of my Fur Affinity journals, somebody asked me what like the estimated wait time is for me, and I left like, I think I scared them away, because I left like a really fucking long comment just because I was like trying to be really thorough, and I'm like, I'm really bad at rambling. Like, I don't shut the hell up. It's bad. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I just want to give you the most information. It's the most helpful. And then I scare someone away because, like, so much. But yeah, basically, so what I do is if somebody is interested in a commission, I put them on my wait list and they don't pay anything. For the wait list, we have discussed the commission. I have given them a quote. We have agreed on the price. And they are added to my wait list. And then when I am free to, work on the next thing, I pull my work queue directly from that wait list. And my active work queue is only, I don't know, like between 3 and 10 things at a time. I usually try to block out a work week, but after I had like one work block that was literally like 4 reference sheets, where the clients would take like 5 days to get back to me on email, I was like, I can't do this because like we're way out of like the single week that I had like allocated for this. So like sometimes you can like plan out 2 weeks or a month's worth of work to account for if your clients can't get back to you quickly. So then you can like just switch and work on a different project while you wait for them to reply to you. But yeah, so I can accept a commission and add people on my waitlist, but they do not pay me until I am like literally hovering over the commission ready to start work. And I found that this is the best thing that works for me because getting paid for something that I can't work on yet and sitting on people's money, like that money burns a hole in my pocket and like I can't sleep. Like when I was in school, I would try to take commissions during like summer break or winter break or whatever, but I would be like so dead and burnt out from school that like I would need to like understandably like recuperate. And sometimes I would literally only have like a couple hours left on a commission to finish it up, but once the semester started, like I just physically did not have those hours at all. Like I could not find any time to finish up the thing. So I've had people wait like several months before on a commission. I felt like shit every day about it. Like once every 3 days, I would just like remember that I have the overdue commission. I would like just be like, oh no, I'm such an asshole. Like, oh, I hate it. So like, this is what I do now. I take payment up front, but only when I am literally about to start work on the thing and I know I'm going to get it done in like under a month. But yeah, like I don't promise completions on anything in a certain deadline unless the client pays for a deadline. So like if somebody wants a guaranteed 1 week completion or 1 month completion deadline, they can absolutely add that onto their commission. It's just it's a 50% surcharge for a 1 month deadline and 100% surcharge for a 1 week deadline. Other than that, it's like, hey, I work on things at my own discretion, but like so far all the commissions that I've taken since I finished my BFA, all of them have been done under a month, and most of the, like, colored bust sketches I've been doing, like, I've literally given them, like, same day to people that they paid for it, because I whip those out quickly in between bigger commissions. I remember one time this one person got, like, a pay what you want commission, and, like, she paid for it, and I literally got it done, like, the hour after, because it was just, like, a really quick, like, colored sketch, and she was like, oh my god, like, you just blasted this out, and I'm like, yeah, I only have 2 modes. You either get it immediately or you get it like a year later, but the year later doesn't apply anymore. That was when I had school. It's really, really hard balancing full-time art school that like absolutely kicks your ass and also like working. It's not fun, but Thankfully that's over, and I don't have to deal with it anymore. Oh, thank you. Hey, Donnie. I'm really... Or you know what? Is it Donnie or Danny? It should be Danny, right? But yeah, no, thank you. I always appreciate you, like, really enjoying my stylization in the anatomy, especially on my, like, ungulates and my herbivores. I don't get asked to draw a lot of animals that aren't just, like, foxes, huskies, and wolves. And every time I do, I get really excited. And I remember there was like a point in time where I would get like commission inquiries from people. They're like, "Can you draw this animal?" And I was like, "Yes, I can." They're like, "But do you have examples?" I'm like, "No, but I'm very confident I can." And they're like, "Oh, like, are you sure?" And I'm here like, "Yes. You don't have to buy from me if you have so much doubt, but like, I promise that I'm like very good at working from reference and I have a decent understanding of creature anatomy to be able to draw your animal." The best part is when someone, like, doesn't trust that I can draw their, like, fursona species, and I, like, open their gallery and, like, the art that they have of their character. I'm like, well, that's not really species accurate. Why are you so, like, suspicious when, like, I can draw just as well as the art you have. Like, I promise I'm not bad. Like... Yeah, the thing with raffles is, and any free art, anything you win for free, like, anytime I win a free raffle, I accept it as, like, I might not get this, because it's free, you know? Like, I'm not gonna hassle an artist to give me, like, free shit. So yeah, like, I've totally waited, like, a long time on raffle prizes, and people are waiting a long time on raffle prizes from me. Like, I have one that's super overdue, and it feels bad because it was actually for someone that I personally know from school. Like, they managed to, like, win my raffle. And I kept being like, "I am so sorry." And they're like, "No, it's okay, take your time." And I was like, "Okay, if I don't finish this month, you can beat me up." And then I still didn't finish it that month. And I was like, wow, I'm a sack of shit. But, like, on the plus side, every day of wait time that they have, the better at art I become. And eventually, like, they're gonna get, like, a better thing than, like, you know, would have. So... yeah, they, like, switch to, I, like, every time goes by, and I'm like, oh, so long has gone by. Because I started to sketch on, like, the raffle prize, and, like, a bunch of time went by, and I was like, you know what? Do you want to change what I'm drawing? Because, like, now's the time. Like, I'm ready to start over. And they want me to do, like, a couple drawing, which I'm excited to do, because I love drawing couples. But, yeah, I guess I just gotta put, like, make time in my weekends to work on raffle prizes and art trades on the weekends. And then do, like, commissions during the week, like my work week. But it can just get hard, because, like, Saturday... right now I'm quarantining away from my partner. But usually Saturdays I, like, spend my entire Saturday with him. And then, like, Sunday I just kind of, like, I don't know... do something, play video games, like, chill, decompress from, like, the work week. But, yeah. Anyway... I just treat raffle prizes as, like, I'll never hassle this person. Whenever I win them on Twitter, it's, like, very exciting. But, like, I will literally never be, like, sitting there asking, like, where's my raffle prize? Like, so sometimes I even forget. Sometimes I have totally, completely forgotten that I, like, won a raffle prize from someone. And then, like, they finish it, and they send it to me, and they're like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry, this took, like, literally a year and a half, but, like, here's your raffle prize." I'm like, "Oh, whoa, I forgot about this. This is, like, a cool surprise." It's like when you check your pants and find money. And you're like, "Whoa, thank you." Now I'm going back and looking at the chat, so if I, like, sit here, I'm gonna, like, zoom out so you guys can actually see the drawing and not, like, one line zoomed in at, like, 5,000%. I'm gonna peep through the chat and be what I can respond to. Yes, I love actually maintaining species anatomy in my furries. Yeah, that's just my preference. I just really enjoy it. Like, I love animals. I love creature design. And lately now, I'm also kind of like readjusting my style, if that makes sense.